Welcome back to Diary of Jen. Today we're covering a video that has gone absolutely viral and I wanted to talk about it because I want to give my opinion on it, but also I've seen a lot of other people's opinions on it as well, and I thought this would be an interesting video today. If you haven't already seen it, which I believe that you probably would have, it's the video of a girl who's at work and her lunchbox has been packed by her significant other. And the contents of what's in this lunch bag is, I think she mentioned some old Chipotle and then dog food at the bottom of it. And I have mixed thoughts about this that I won't share until after we've watched everything, but I just think it goes to show that every person's relationship is so different, and it is interesting in the world of social media seeing all these different relationships. So let's get into the videos today.
So I forgot my lunch today and I asked my husband to bring me lunch. So let's do an unboxing because clearly it's a little full. I just have a feeling this is going to be really good. We have a bag of we have a bag of cookies. Not a Ziploc bag, but a bag. We have a bag of pretzels. Feels very empty. We got an apple. Gotta stay healthy. This is good. We have not just a portion of Pringles, but an entire container of Pringles. Another bag of cookies. Another bag. Options. Lucky me. And lastly, okay, we have my 2-day-old Chipotle. And at the very bottom, we have a bag of dog food. Because you're my dog. There's 2, Joy. Please bring back the dogs are low on food. So ladies, if you don't have food and your husband has to bring you a lunch, just know that you're gonna get lots of food, as well as maybe even a cute note. This is nice. This is great.
Comment below. Let me know what your thoughts or opinions are on this because I would love to hear them below. Next, we are going to watch the after video. So this was posted following the dog food video.
It's the lunchbox girl. Okay, the explanation y'all have all been waiting for. It's time to explain what happened this weekend. And I cannot even process that I'm making this video right now. Okay, so a few people, 30 million to be exact, and more, because it's been posted other platforms, have seen the video of me unpacking the lunch, the dog food, that my husband packed me. And most of you, half of you, 3/4, 75%, hated it. You thought it was horrific, horrible, and the worst thing that's ever happened to anybody. I'm here to explain it. Okay, number 1, the dog food. He spelled it, yes, his handwriting is horrible. Yeah, it is, you're right. Y'all are so pressed that he called me a dog. He did not call me a D-O-G, dog, D-O-G, like a dog that has a leash. He did not call me that. D-A-W-G, dog as in homie, American slang for homie. It's what we call each other. It's a joke. J-O-K-E, joke. Y'all were also so pressed that he put it in my lunchbox. That's why he put it in a bag, so it didn't get on my food. This was at the bottom because he thought of it last, and he tried to hide it under the Chipotle so that it would be a surprise. Because it was funny, it was a joke. He was trying to make me laugh. Which it worked. Him and my sister came up with this idea together. My sister thought it was funny too. Moving on, second, the Chipotle. Y'all are all really upset that it was 2-day-old Chipotle. Well, guess what? Teacher brain deceived me. It was actually a day old. It was from the night before, so not even a day old. I said 2. As a teacher, 1 day feels like 7. Okay, all I get in my bowl is rice, steak, and beans. That's what my son thinks about it. Okay, anyway. He brings me lunch once a week. So all of you saying that this is his way of telling you to never ask again, no. He brings me lunch once a week. Normally, it's like Chick-fil-A or something like that. First day of school, he bought me a bouquet of candy and a bouquet of flowers, set up a whole screen that said, happy first day of school, all the things. He doesn't hate me, guys. But the Chipotle, the reason he packed that is because he wasn't planning on bringing me lunch that day. I had asked him to bring me lunch because I had forgotten, and he said, what would you like? I said, Chipotle leftovers and snacks. He packed me Chipotle leftovers and snacks. The reason I recorded it is because I knew it was gonna be funny how he packed it. I just knew it was gonna be. The dog food was a sweet surprise that made me laugh. And so that's all I'm gonna say on that. Thank you for the love and the hate. Both does the same for me. Love you guys. And I know you're already gonna hate me for even coming out with an explanation because it gives you a reason not to hate anymore.
Don't forget to subscribe to the fam if you haven't already. We would love to have you here. Our next goal is 500 subs. I'd love to have you a part of that. So what I think is 2 things can be true at once, right? So yes, obviously packing your partner dog food is crazy, okay? But the other side to it is this might have just been a joke. And this might be controversial because every single opinion I've mostly seen is, oh, this is really disrespectful, like I can't believe that he's done this. And the thing is, I agree to a degree that it is disrespectful, but I also think that every single person's relationship is so different, and I don't think that you can base someone's relationship off one thing that you've seen a tiny snippet of. I don't think that's fair. And I think on the internet, people are so quick to judge, people are so quick to make assumptions, and I don't think that is fair. Now, this young girl, she looks young, seems really nice and genuine, and I think that's great. Do I think the dog food was a good idea to post online? Probably not, because people come in stampedes to share their opinion, which I know we are entitled to our own opinions, but I think sometimes some people take it way too far. The thing that made me chuckle though in that video explaining why, she said, and I saw a comment about this as well, he thought of the dog food last and that's why it was put in last. No, honey, when you're packing a lunchbox, the thing that you put in first goes at the bottom and then everything else gets piled on top. So I'm not sure in that moment if she's just trying to double up on the explanation as to why it was put in there, or maybe to soften the blow of like, oh, it's not that bad, he thought of it last. No. So I definitely think it's not ideal. And you obviously, if I got this personally, I don't know how I'd react. I think I would laugh, and then it would depend. Because honestly, my partner and I, we have banter, and that's just our relationship. I don't know if your relationship is different to that. And you know what? Nothing is ever the same, okay? Your relationship that you probably first had ever in your life is different to what you have now. That's normal. You're never going to be in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, a partner, blah, 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 blah. It's never going to be the same. And I think that social media definitely does exacerbate things and makes things out to sometimes be worse than what they are. I don't think that your partner should be putting dog food in your lunchbox, but I also can see where it would be probably a joke and it was just taken a bit too far online. But there is also a part of me that believes, maybe not. And, you know, I don't know how I feel because it hasn't happened to me and my partner hasn't done this. So I'm not sure. I know a few people were a bit up in the air about, oh, it's 2-day-old Chipotle, like that's all he thought about. But in the video, the girl said that she asked for the Chipotle, so he's just chucked the dog food in there. And that's the thing, I think she mentioned, oh, nothing in like a Ziploc bag. The only thing that was in a Ziploc bag was the dog food. Everything else was in the original like packaging, and You know when you open a pack of chips and if you don't tighten it and let the air out, they go stale and shitty? I don't know if that would have been the case there because nothing looked like it was airtight. It all looked like it was just chucked in there willy-nilly. And I'm also going to give the benefit of the doubt, you know, maybe her husband or whatever was busy and needed to chuck something in quickly, but also maybe not. Maybe they were just being lazy, okay? I don't know. There is a few other videos though that I had saw around this that I really wanted to share because they're quite interesting. So let's watch this together.
I'm a cognitive psychologist, and it's very rare that stories like this trend and actually like kind of tie into my area of expertise. So I'm going to touch on this. Let's just all know I am not saying anything definitive about her or her situation. This is just, I don't know, partly to educate and partly to just talk about this because it's wild. I want to talk about her facial expressions in this video because I feel like a lot of times a person's body language and facial expressions are going to be a lot more informative than their words, especially when something is like unfolding in real time and they're processing it in front of a camera. So this is an image taken from the very first moment of her video where she's telling us, she slides the lunchbox over and she says, "My husband packed my lunch." And I just want you to look at this face. The lips pinched together in a tiny little line, one eyebrow partially raised, eyes kind of thin and squinty. This is a person who already knows what's in this lunchbox. I'm not saying that she's already looked in the lunchbox, but this is not the first time an event like this has happened. And to speculate a little, I'll just say, like, I think that most women whose husbands are considerate and thoughtful, if their husband brought them a lunch, their first thought wouldn't be, oh, let me pull out my camera and film this, because what's newsworthy about that? She already knows whatever's in there is a doozy and she's going to film it today. And it was here that for me, I was like, okay, off to a fine start. There are plenty of marriages where like husbands are quirky, they do goofy things. I'm ready to have a laugh with you, friend. But as we went on, right, and we start pulling out like practically empty entire bags of potato chips, what else was there? Several different types of cookies, nothing substantive yet. Eventually we get to the 2-day-old Chipotle, which she's now come back and clarified that it's actually just 1-day-old Chipotle. So. And I'm sorry, but this expression here, the thin smile, the closed eyes, this is not of her blinking. This is like several moments where she's pulling something out and she's got her eyes closed. This is very much giving exasperation, bemused exasperation. Compared to moments like this, which is disgust. She's about to say a word here, so I get that. But this was the face that she was making as she pulled out this bag of pretzels. This is clear disgust. Teeth kind of bared, nose wrinkled up. This is how we show disgust. But going back to this image here, I want to talk about this because for me, when I see this kind of facial expression, this is, like I said, somebody who is disgusted already, probably a little bit angry or contemptuous, but also those feelings are softened by love. That's something, a hallmark of this picture right here is like, this is someone who is taking a deep breath and going, oh, I love him. This is annoying, but also I love him. And the reason why I want to talk about that is that I think that that's a side of this that's not getting talked about a lot, which is that she's very young. I've heard, I haven't confirmed, but have heard that she's MAGA. Therefore, it's likely that she is in a constellation of family members who all have kind of like traditional views of marriage, who on the one hand will like say that men are the leader of the family and the free world, but also incomprehensibly that they're like toddlers who can't be expected to do anything for themselves. And I imagine that she has brought this frustration to probably a female family member in her life, maybe her own mother, maybe her mother-in-law, and has been told, that's just men, honey. That's just men. And in fact, you got one of the good ones. Most men wouldn't have even brought you a lunch. That's all speculation, of course. But I think when we look at this, like what I'm seeing is someone who is young, who has been taught certain things about what to expect in a marriage and hasn't aged enough yet to sort of deconstruct some of the things she heard growing up. Again, if she's MAGA, you got to make some assumptions here about what kind of environment she was raised in and what ideologies have probably been impressed upon her, right? And I think, given that we can see on her face that this is already frustrating her, she's disappointed, she's disgusted, more than likely she has already raised this issue to him and to probably other members of her family. And she's in a place where she's going, I love him, I'm going to be grateful for what I have, and I'm going to focus on that, and we're going to laugh at everything else. It wouldn't surprise me at all if when she gets 5 or 10 years older, that ends up in divorce. And there are always men who run around saying, women are the ones who initiate divorce more than men. Yep. You're so close. You're so close to getting it. And this whole thing right here really explains that beautifully.
On a side note, I really don't agree for the most part about the whole traditional wife or traditional roles in a relationship. I don't think that a male should not have to do any housework. I think that's so ridiculous. I think that it should be a shared load. I work full time, my partner works full time. In no way, planet, shape or form would I ever believe that I should be doing all of the housework. I just don't think that's fair. If I'm doing exactly the same thing as yourself and working the same hours, that doesn't make sense to me. You know, it's kind of a different story. Personally, if I was like a stay-at-home mum, or, you know, we chose to have a family and we wanted to settle down and, like, you know, I wanted him to work while I looked after our kids, I can kind of understand if I was going to do most of the housework in that situation. If I'm home, not doing, you know, as much full-time work, I would be with the kids, so that would be a job in itself. But if I'm at home, I would have time to most likely do some house chores more than what he would be able to if he's at work full time. Do you know what I mean? I think there's grey lines in between that, but I definitely don't think that the traditional roles are realistic, and I don't think that they should be followed, in my opinion, or that's something that I just don't agree with. I know that we all are entitled to our own opinions and have things that we like in relationships and that we don't, but that's just my hot take on that. I found this next video to be really interesting and another view that I haven't seen anyone really talk about, and I thought it was really important to share, so let's watch this.
I was one of the women who came on the internet and posted a video of my husband, and the internet was like, what the fuck? Okay, this was a while ago. This was COVID times, right? Okay, so it's COVID, and we're at home. I think we had McDonald's, and my ex-husband was feeding my son. And now he was joking, in my opinion, joking, right? Now, I'd been in this relationship for 5 years at this point. So he's joking with my son and he's like cursing. But what he was saying, I thought was funny because, again, I have been with this person for 5 years. And I'm not going to give you any contextual on the background yet, but I post the video. And I started getting comments from people. And this was the first video I'd ever posted on TikTok before I ever had a platform, before I thought of a platform on TikTok was even a concept in my brain. So I posted it and I started getting comments of like, why would he talk to your son this way? Like, this is not funny. Why are you guys laughing? All this stuff started coming in. And I think it was like 4 or 5 comments deep. And I remember going to him and being like, hey, people are saying this on the internet. Like, I'm starting to question things, like, this is weird. And he was like, why would you care what people on the internet have to say? Like, they don't understand the context, they don't understand the this, they don't understand the that, like, people on the internet are just miserable. So the gaslighting ensues, right? But what he hadn't known is that my sister was already in my ear being like, I don't like him, like, something's not right. I remember her sitting me down into the relationship and like crying, having a breakdown, and she's like, I don't recognize my sister, like, what is going on here? Like, she didn't come to my wedding. And side note, I tried to call my wedding off. Like, we were getting married in January, and I think I sat down in like December and I was like, hey, like, you're unhappy, I'm unhappy, why are we getting married? Why are we doing this if we're clearly not in a good place and I don't think it's going to end well? And he again, the gaslight, like, just sobbing hysterically, like, I wanted to do this forever. His words, I've wanted to do this forever, please don't take this away from me. What are we going to tell people? Like, everyone's already planning on coming because we were doing a destination wedding. We end up getting married, but within, like, so it's been a year, 6 months ish, a year since we were married, and I was like, this is not going well. Like we shouldn't have gotten married. This is not going well. He ended up throwing a cup of water in my face. Okay, that was the thing that ended up like ending our marriage. But I say all of this to say that women, when they're in these situations, they don't realize you're so conditioned to their behavior. You are so taught that what is going on is okay. And there were so many times that I checked in with people in my life, and the only person who really ever said anything about him, that not liking him, not agreeing with, like, having any issues with my ex-husband, was my sister. She was quite vocal about it but she had come to stay with us for a couple months, and she literally was like, what the fuck is this? Like, you guys are always fighting. Like, this is not healthy. Like, what are you doing? Like, she very much was the only person that was extremely vocal. And now she's my younger sister. So I just assumed, honestly, that she just didn't understand how hard and how much work relationships were. That was the mentality I had in my head, because we were taught from a very young age that if you're a woman, a relationship is work. A relationship is supposed to be you giving. It's supposed to be you meeting this other person. And what I never realized is that I was consistently the one, like, going more and more and more. When I see these women posting things on the internet like, oh, my husband packed my lunch and he put dog food in it, and her thinking it's funny and it's a joke, she probably actually thinks it's funny and it's a joke. But not only that, but everyone around her is also somewhat enabling this behavior. And one of the things that I've said a lot of the times is, if you're coming out of a toxic or an abusive relationship, you really need to look at the people around you. And a lot of people take issue with that because you don't have a lot of community around you after you come out of those relationships, because they've alienated a lot of people. But the only people that they won't alienate away from you are people who enable their behavior. My ex-husband really loved my mom. And now me and my mom have made a lot of strides in our relationship. We've worked a ton on our relationship. I've gone to therapy. She's gone to therapy. We talk every day. We talk a lot about our relationship, a lot about childhood. But she was one of the people that was like, a relationship is a lot of work. Like, she convinced me to stay with him a year longer. I had friends around me at the time that convinced me that what was going on was very normal, because in their mind, it was very normal. And those were people that my ex-husband had no issue with, because they enabled his bad behavior. So when these people come on the internet and they post videos and they don't understand why you're getting upset, it's because everyone in their life has normalized shitty men's behavior, including themselves. And anytime that they've gone to someone for advice about their relationship, like, oh, we're having issues, they're getting gaslit by not only the man, but everyone in his close circle, all his friends and family, if he has any remaining in his close circle, and all of her friends and family that have chosen to stand by this guy. And generally, not a hard, fast rule, but generally, if you're someone who's in a relationship with a man like that and you don't know the signs to look out for it, I would guess that the people around you, your friendships and things like that, they're also kind of down that manipulative, toxic rabbit hole as well. I mean, I had a friend who she was a personal training client who became a friend, and I remember going to her and I was like, hey, I'm having all these issues, da 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 da. Her and my mom were the two people that were like, that's just a relationship. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of this. It's a lot of give. You have to give. You have to give, because that's what they experience in their own life. Now, after I ended things with this man and me and this girl are going somewhere one time, she was talking about her sister and how her sister's husband basically was going to cheat on her if she didn't have intimacy with her husband. Basically, women should expect to be cheated if they're not having intimacy with their husband. And now, me being the wife that was not having intimacy with her husband, I was sitting there going, well, what is he doing that makes her not want to have intimacy with him? Like, most people who are in relationships and are, heterosexual, they want to have intimacy with their partners. And if they're not wanting to have intimacy with their partners, there's generally something going on that's making that happen. Whether it's the labor in the household, whether it's financial struggle, like, whatever's going on, you generally want to connect with the person that you are in love with. And if you're not wanting to do that, there's generally a specific reason. And I remember sitting this and she goes, no, like, if a man cheats on you, that's your fault. And I remember sitting back in our friendship and kind of like starting to separate myself in that moment, because I was like, oh, this kind of mentality is not healthy for me to be around, especially after leaving my ex-husband. And now what I found is when I would lean into her and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, trying to rely on her as a friend, she would start to try and control my behaviors. She would tell me, you need to go and come this type of job. You need to go back to school for this. You need to do this. And she was very, very, very controlling, even in a friendship. And I realized, oh, I've allowed people around me who have the same pattern of behavior as my ex-husband. So it took rooting out not only the relationship I had with my ex-husband, but also reestablishing the relationship I have with my mom, reestablishing the relationship I have with my sister, and then also rooting out all of these friendships that I thought were good friendships. She wasn't the only one. Almost every single close girlfriend I had around me was perpetuating abuse patterns and or victims of abuse themselves. And when I would try and be like, hey, this is not healthy, they could not see it, did not want to see it. So when you see these women coming online and then they get defensive over their husband, it's because they most likely are getting this backlash, and then they're going to the people in their lives and saying, hey, am I not seeing this clearly? And the people around them are also not seeing this clearly. That's just the reality that we live in currently. Emotional abuse is really not talked about. It's really not dissected a lot. And a lot of the times people think that emotional abuse is not the same as physical abuse, or like even when I tell people like, oh, he threw a cup of water in my face, so many men and so many women will be like, that's not physical abuse. it is physical abuse, and the physical abuse started with him throwing remotes and slamming doors. Physical intimidation is a form of physical abuse, even if they're not directly putting their hands on you. And when I look back at the relationship, he taught me how to do Muay Thai and kickboxing, and I remember we would go to the gym and do Muay Thai and kickboxing, and he would hold pads for me because he had been doing it his whole life, and he would hold pads for me, and then he would ask me to hold pads for him. And that man would take out every ounce of anger and frustration he would have on those pads, to the point where people in the gym would be looking at us like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And at the time I was like, oh, he's so strong, he's so this, he's so that. No, that man was in a way beating me publicly. Even though he wasn't physically putting his hands on me, he was putting them on pads. I was still taking the brunt of kicks and punches. So even this conversation is about dog food in a bag, but it's really about emotional abuse. And it's of the fact that a lot of people don't really realize that emotional abuse is just the stepping stones into physical abuse. There was a guy, I believed he worked for the FBI, and he came on and he said, if your partner calls you a bitch, he will put his hands on you. And if he'll put his hands on you, he will unalive you. It may take him 20 to 30 years, but we always hear of these people saying, oh, I never thought he was capable of that. I never thought he could do that. But the signs were always there. We're just told that they're not. And it starts with simple things like putting dog food in your girlfriend's lunch as a joke. I myself get frustrated with these women because they will come on the internet and they will put out these things, and then when they get pushback, they start getting offended. And the reality of the situation is it might be the starting point of their divorce. I've seen women come on the internet, and I want to say that when people on the internet were calling out the behavior that I thought was very normalized because I was in it every day, it might have taken me, 6 months, a year to really like recognize it. And it's still like something that you years later realize, oh, that was not normal. Which is why I do think we should be calling out when women post things like this. Because even if it's not the woman posting it who has the realization, it's the woman seeing the comments. It's the woman realizing, oh, it's not normal for my partner to hate me.
I definitely think in relationships you normalize the behavior that your partner is giving to yourself, because how could you not? It's just like if you grow up in a household where you have two parents that are together, you normalize that. If you come from a family where your parent was a single parent, you normalize that. Do you know what I mean? You get what I'm trying to say? So I think that if you're in a relationship and your partner does certain behaviors, you're probably just used to that. And you do just think that's how it is until you see things outside of that bubble that you haven't, and you go, oh, well, maybe that isn't how it's normally in a relationship. Because when people start to have conversations outside of their bubble and they go, oh, my partner does this, and this, and they go, oh, well, no, my partner doesn't do that, or oh, yes, they do that as well. So I definitely think that you see things your partner does and you just think, oh, yeah, that's just how it is. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. So I think we definitely just need to be mindful. It's also about what you would put up with in a relationship. I personally think that your self-esteem and what you think you're worth is what you'll put up with in a relationship. If you're someone who has self-esteem issues, or you don't think you deserve X, Y, and Z, that's going to show in your relationship and what you choose to put up with. Some people stay with people who cheat on them because they just don't think they can get any better, or they might just love them to the point that they wouldn't want to leave them, or that's something that they don't really mind about, which to me, I could never. If my partner cheated on me, out that bloody door I go, because let me tell you, that to me is one of the most disrespectful, disgusting things that you can do to someone. If you're not happy, bloody leave. That's all I'll say. I just think, look after yourself, make sure that you're loved, cared for, and safe. That is everything that I had today. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate having you here. If you haven't already subscribed, we'd love to have you a part of the fam. Our goal is to reach 500 subs. We are so close. And if you haven't already, comment below. Let me know what you think about this video and what your opinions are, because I would love to hear them. And if you have any video ideas that you want to see next, or videos that you do enjoy watching, comment below as well. I will see you next time. Have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.